I'm now joined by UBS strategist Nick Nelson. Nick, thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning. Just looking generally, we had some very strong first quarter earnings. Does that mean that people are going to be optimistic the second quarter is going to do as well?
Well, look, first quarter is going to be tough to beat. It was the best reporting season for 5 years in Europe. So I don't think we'll quite get as strong beats, and as you were seeing from those graphics there, the growth rates year on year will not be quite as high in Q2, but I still think they'll be a little bit better than consensus, and they'll be enough to assuage some of these fears of double dip.
So where are you looking for in terms of sectors? What do you expect is going to do well?
Well, in particular, I think you're going to see some of the base effects for financials will mean the numbers will be very high. So even if the profitability or the return on equity isn't off the scale, the year-on-year growth rate will be very high. So they should do quite well. Some other sectors, particularly those exposed to the weaker euro, because obviously the euro has been very weak over the second quarter as a whole. It's weak now year-on-year. So exporters, industrials, they'll also do well.
Now, some of the big German companies have been sort of talking about how well they've been doing. They've been talking about that weaker euro and how much they're exporting. Are you expecting to see them particularly outperforming?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, they're very well exposed to Asia. They're very well exposed to growing parts of the world. And even the domestic economy in Germany is one of the best performers. So they've got a sweet spot there in terms of FX, overseas exposure and domestic economy.
Now, just looking at something like, the IBEX today going down, clearly there are concerns with these stress tests coming up. A lot of controversy over how much they're really going to tell us. But do you think that's going to be reflected at all yet in what we're seeing from the banking sector?
I'm not sure we'll see it in the quarterly earnings numbers. I think we'll see it when the stress tests are released. I think July the 23rd is one date that seems to be in people's minds for that. So I think it's really when we've done that, then we'll look at how much capital, if any, needs to be raised, how they raise the capital, and where we go from there. But for this quarter's performance, I'm not sure the actual stress test will have a huge impact.
And what about the whole sovereign debt crisis? And it didn't impact so much on the first quarter results, but are we expecting to see the Greek debacle and all of its fallout affecting which sectors, and indeed, is it actually going to be tangible in those second quarter earnings?
Well, I think what might be tangible is slower growth rates in the periphery, obviously Spain, clearly Greece, and Portugal, compared with Northern Europe, Germany, Holland as well is turning in a good performance. So you might see a geographic divergence. That's probably the area where you're really going to pick it up. I think if companies are selling to domestic demand in Southern Europe, they will not do as well as those selling to domestic demand in Northern Europe. So that, I think, could be the spread.
And are we actually going to be looking, therefore, at some of the sectors in Southern Europe, particularly things like construction, I'm thinking of, that are going to be worse hit? Yeah,
you'd have thought so. The domestic cyclicals, those are the ones that perhaps on the domestic retailing, construction, building materials, as you refer to, those are the ones which are probably going to be a little bit more disappointing for choice.
And how much really can we read into these second quarter earnings? Are they going to tell us whether or not we're likely to face a double-dip recession?
Well, there'll be something in there for the bulls and the bears, I suspect. I suspect Q2 will have been probably a bit better than people thought. Guidance, I suspect, will be okay, but of course the bears will say, yes, but they just haven't seen the downturn that's coming in 2011, and companies will get a shock when it does come. So there'll be something for everyone, I think.
OK. Nick Nelson from UBS, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning.